The Tunica-Biloxi Language and Cultural Revitalization Program proudly hosts the 6th annual Intertribal Basketry Summit. It's not just our tribe that's doing the basketry work, it's friends from all over the region, different tribes. And all of these weavers bring their traditions and their work in preserving this beautiful art form, the basketry. And that's the whole point of this summit, is to support those weavers from their communities, to have sort of some fellowship, to talk about things in common, things that they see in their community. It's difficult to get young people to pick up the art form, and even adults. It's to encourage and to preserve, and something that we hold dear.
I'm Rose Fisher Greer. I'm a member of the Gina Band of Choctaw from Central Louisiana. Basket weaving died out in my tribe in the 1930s, but through oral tradition, I grew up hearing stories about two great aunts that wove, and that's how they helped to support their family, because women weren't allowed to work outside of their households. But they would weave two of every kind of basket, and they would give one to a merchant or whoever they were trading with, and the other one they would have it filled up with food items, sugar, flour, seeds, materials, things that they could use to help support their family. And it made an impression on me and inspired me to want to learn this craft and bring it back to my tribe. And I hope that at some point that I can be able to pass this on. My daughter, who lives out in California, it's kind of hard for her to learn, but she grew up watching me weave and playing with my scraps and things. So she's taken an interest in it, and she's done 2 baskets so far, and I hope she continues it on and it never leaves my tribe again.
My name is Miss Heather Williams. We're from Elton, Louisiana, from the Coshada tribe. This is Miss Adrienne Silverstein. She's been doing basket for quite a while, and she still continues to do basket. I grew up learning basket from my mother and my grandmother. I was fortunate to have 2 grandmothers, and I also had great grandmothers that also sewed baskets. And then, like, this picture right here currently shows one of my great grandmother on my mother's side, and I was doing a replica of this according to one of her pictures on here. Today, the tribe still do basket. They currently still do the wheat stitch baskets, which is something like this. And they also have a third stitch, which is a chain. They call it a chain stitch basket, kind of like a chain following each other. You know, we still have fortunate to have a few members that still continue to do basket. They took us to the National Forest in Glenmora, and we recently picked some pine needles that we were able to pick, and the elders took it home and they dried it, and, you know, it'll be ready to sew with. And of course, we also sew with raffia, which is a type of wild grass that now that you can buy in the stores in some sort. You know, back in the day, we had to trade for item to get what we need to sew baskets. So.
I'm Evelyn Steele from Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I work with split river cane baskets, and these are some of the baskets that I make. And these are some of the dyed fibers that I use. The black is from the black walnut, and then the red from cochineal, and then I have here Osage orange. And that's what I use to weave together. And right now, I just brought what I'm using to teach my son. And I will say that I am a third generation that I can prove, but I'm sure that it goes further back than that. And I grew up around basketry with my aunt and my mother and my grandmother. We're all weavers. But I didn't really start weaving until I was older. But it's really a part of my history, and it was something that I wanted to do. So when the kids were a little bit grown, then I started doing basket weaving, and that's what I continue to do now.
My name is Becky Thomas Mizier. I'm a member of the Clifton Choctaw tribe. My dad's paternal side, we have family that live in Idabel, Oklahoma, directly related to Mississippi Choctaws. I learned basket making when I was about 10 years old from my mother. So I've been making baskets for definitely over 30 years. Some of my big venues that I attend every year is the New Orleans Jazz Festival. They usually pay me to come down and demonstrate. What I'm working on currently is called a wall hanging basket. So when I'm done, it would basically fit flat on the wall. Not something that really any of us do that often anymore. I love making baskets because it's kind of therapeutic. When you're weaving, you're concentrating on each stitch, what you're doing, and you kind of don't think of anything else around you. And I also like it because it's just a natural feeling that kind of connects you back to nature. I live in the central part of Louisiana, where pine needles in my area I can find them more easily. Some of the other tribes are having a hard time finding the longleaf pine needles because they're becoming extremely hard to find. And, I figure within the next 20, 30 years, if nobody starts to revitalize them, replant them, they'll probably be extinct totally.
My name is Tammy Greer, and I'm a professor at the University of Southern Mississippi. And we have a 1,000 square foot native plant garden there that's in the shape of a medicine wheel. And we harvest plants from there, or usually flowers, and for all kinds of things, medicine making and weapon making and building materials and food and drink, but also dyes. And so here I'm demonstrating dye plants. And what I think is the most important thing about this is that we hold on to this knowledge so that our basket weavers and our other kinds of weavers can always go back to, if they want to, our native plants, which make these absolutely beautiful colors. And, the thing about our native plants is that if they weren't here and if they hadn't provided for us for so long, we wouldn't be here. And so we I feel like anyway, an obligation to them to make sure that we elevate them and we talk about them and we make sure that they stay around. So what I'm trying to do is make sure these plants, can show out and show off, and also come with us. Oh yeah, hey yeah, oh yeah, hey yeah, oh yeah, hey yeah, oh yeah, hey yeah.
I'm Janie Verrett Luster. I'm a citizen of the United Homo Nation. I live down by Dulorge, or commonly known as Terrio, Louisiana. And I do the Houma half-fish call basket. I was able to bring it back in 1992. We had lost it. The last ones were made in the early 1940s, and it wasn't passed on, as we say. And so, talking to our elders in our community, they had memories of a basket but couldn't tell us how to make it. Miss Oradale Morris wrote the book J'entends la chanson des humains. I hear the song of the homeless. And in her 13 years of research, she found our baskets in museums. And she became good friends with Mr. Richard Kahn. And she was able to bring him down when she released the book in October of 1992. And he did a one-day workshop. 1992 was a devastating time for our communities down in Terrebonne Parish because Hurricane Andrew had come through. And so we needed to get away from being around all of this. And so the workshop came up and we said, it's going to be a good trip to make. And like I say, I wasn't there to learn, I was there to look on. And Mr. Kahn had come down with a ribbon, which would have been this part, and a rope. And so different than, the ropes all together and you have all of this, so it's a little bit harder to work with. But I learned myself that the technique was not really that hard, but it's actually not having anyone to be able to teach you. A lot of times when I'm doing workshops, like people come and say, I'm here, where do I go from here? And then sometimes you have a difficult time coming through. And then, simple things. And I realized that palmetto had a hard end and a soft end. This is a palmetto heart right here. The hard end is right in here by the stem. The soft end was here. And when I started trying to weave, it didn't matter when I would splice what end, and most of the time I was using the hard end. And that was the problem. And when I realized there's a soft end and hard end and started using that idea together, adding on, you use that soft end, it's going to go right in there and you'll be able to lock it in. And that hard end acts as the weaver and makes it so much easier to go in and out, as you can see here. We harvested and then we separate it like this. And then we can put it on a clothesline or just outside in the sun. The sun's going to dry it. And then before we can use it again, we have to dampen it. And once we wet it, that October day was a day that it was good for my family. And we needed that time, and it came in perfect timing for us.
Heini, ima tiana etisa, ima tawaruni luchiyoroni, ima tawaru luchiyoroni, he ish, laka, waru nik iti. So, hey everyone, my name is Tiana. I'm a Tunica language instructor. I'm also a student because I'm currently still learning the language and advancing my levels. Today, we are here teaching other new beginners how to make pine needle baskets. I think it's important for our younger tribal members and anyone who wants to learn how to make pine needle baskets to take the time to learn it, because it's a skill that not many other people know how to do. And it's a tradition that we've always had in our tribe. We've always made baskets. And to have a younger person coming learning it is like it's keeping our language and our culture alive.
My name is Joyce Pancho. I live in Livingston, Texas at the Alabama-Coshada Reservation. And I make long-leaf pine needle baskets that's been handed from maternal and paternal side. So I learned to pick up, to make baskets when I was 10 years old. But I don't know how Mama had the patience with us and show us how to make the basket. But it's been handed down, and it's been an honor that we had learned so much. So we have different forms of baskets, And every time when I make a basket, start making a basket, somebody already claimed that basket for me to finish it. Sometimes I work till midnight, and then I get up early in the morning and then I go 7 days a week making baskets. And then on the pine needle baskets, we dry them in the shade to turn green, and then if we dry them in the sun, it's brown. So it depends on what kind of baskets we're going to make. We dry the pine leaves. So, and then we clip all the stubs, and then on the stubs we save some for the armadillos or whichever has little legs. We use that for the little legs, and then we use for thread we use a raffia. This one we buy it, and in so much pounds, and it's kind of hard to get a hold of a raffia now. And it's also hard for us to get the long leaf pine needles. We go through forestry to get it. We don't throw away anything on the pine tree. We pick pine cones, the larger ones. We clip each petal, and we decorate it on like turtle, armadillos with a rough scale. And then the smaller pine cones, we split it in half, and we decorate it on the baskets. This earring is made out of longleaf pine needles. My sister gave this one to me for my birthday.
Hi, I'm Tom Collin. I learned art of basket weaving from the Biloxi Choctaw basket weaver. Her name is Montel Johnson. The way she taught me was to learn how to strip it with saws first before she would teach me how to weave. And over a period of several years, she showed me the different styles of Choctaw basketry, both a palmetto, a cane, palmetto, because canes getting scarce, even more so now. It's difficult to find. And I try to keep up on traditions. And my teacher, George Allen, I'm teaching about Choctaw. I'm teaching Low Square. I'm teaching there. The traditions that I've learned from the Biloxi Choctaw. I try to keep it going. And got to see it going now to the students, New Orleans area, Sierra Leone, and Virginia Richardson. I learned how to do it in Palmetto. So these traditions, you keep up on much longer. But it's interesting, have fun with your hands and do it, the fingers are doing it. Those old wings, exactly the same as what people's hands were doing all those long years ago. Thank you.
In the past, the Tunica-Biloxi were known more for their pottery and river cane baskets, but as time went on and us needing to adapt and losing some of our natural resources to colonization and other events, we adapted other forms of baskets such as long needle pine and palmetto from the other tribes. And this is why we continue to, or will be continuing to host these events and getting weavers together to preserve not only this knowledge, but our traditions and history that are associated with these crafts.